you wonder, how could this have happened? You know, I mean, how did you do something like this?
You see kids out there on the court playing, and those are high school kids. Not much different than the high school kids of today.
They beat teams over 100 to 10, 15, 20, 40, 50, and it's amazing how they scored.
They were amazing. They were the wonder team of Passaic High School, a collection of basketball players who won a record 159 straight games from 1919 to 1925. Passaic's teams formed a dynasty before there were such things in sports, and it was a very different game.
I guess the most interesting thing was a designated foul shooter, where the coach got to pick a guy who can actually throw the ball underhand from the foul line and get it in more often than anybody else on the team. A tip-off after every basket, in my mind, that wasted a little time, because as soon as points were made, you had to go back to center court. Well, it was a passing game, throwing the ball from place to place. Today, that would look like a trick play of some sort, where a team will pull that on you when they have to. But it was the thing to do then.
Of all the players to make up the Wonder Team, perhaps two of the best known were Colonel John Rusma, who went on to play at West Point, and Bobby Thompson, who scored a remarkable 1,000 points in the 1921-22 season and was even immortalized in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Those Wonder Teams didn't just beat their opponents, no, they crushed them.
Just pass it, shoot. And when you look at the scores, like, how do you win a game 90-something to 2? I mean, you're amazed. Like, were these people like asleep, or did they ever show up?
Every great high school team's got to have a great coach, right? Well, here at Passaic, they had one. His name, Ernest A. Blood. They called him Prof, and he would one day make the Basketball Hall of Fame.
I couldn't believe when I first heard that was his name. I couldn't really believe that was his actual name. I thought that they called him Coach Blood because he got out your blood, sweat, and tears, and and that was really his name. I think of a guy that was definitely, with a name like that, had to be a very tough coach, and was definitely, this is how it is, and there's no deviating. The Mike Ditka of today, I mean, back then.
He came from Potsdam, New York, and Potsdam, the city, at one year gave him a pet bear, a cub, which he called Zepp. And he kept it for a couple of years, but then it got to be too frisky. But one time they wouldn't let the bear on a trolley coming back from Patterson, so the headlines read, "Prof walks home with bear behind."
Coach Blood also knew how to prepare for the future, setting up what amounted to his own farm system, a formula much copied in recent years.
He was one of the founders of the elementary school basketball leagues in town. So he had a handle on all kids coming up, and we started playing ball in Passaic in the 4th grade. So I think the Prof knew in 4th, 5th grade he could start to see the development of kids.
But Blood would resign after the 1923-24 season, leaving the next team in the hands of assistant coach Amasa Marks. In the 13th game of the 24-25 season, the unthinkable occurred at the hands of Hackensack.
Sometimes, when you beat a team and you play them again, sometimes you're a little overconfident. And I don't know. I mean, I wasn't at the game, and I'm not that old, but, that could have a big part of it, too. I mean, you don't know what the mindset of the team was going in, and it was also the year that they were no longer with Coach Blood.
Master Marks, we used to call him All-American Marks, big guy. He took over the coaching reins, and he coached quite a while. He lost the first game, so they were going to crucify him. They figured he lost the game, not the team, or the fact that Hackensack was a better team.
Passaic rebounded from that loss, and another one later in the year to Hackensack as well, to post its 5th state title in 6 years. In 1974, Coach Blood and all the Wonder Teamers were inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And now, 80 years after it began, their streak still stands.
It's like everything else. They say records are made to be broken. DiMaggio now with his 56 hidden straight said they'll never be broken. Who knows? Whoever thought Roger Maris's record was going to be broken, right? They said that'll stand for years. Now look, it's up to 70. You can't tell. But I'll tell you, to win 159 games today, you've got to go.
I can walk through this school and I can see a gym that's named after him, or I can see things that I know were my family that had really a lot to do with even the whole beginnings of basketball in general. They were the first basketball team that ever played in Madison Square Garden when they opened, because they played prior to the first professional game. You know, things like that are really neat to have as part of your family history.
These were high school kids. They came here, they picked up a boy, and as Larry Serengano once said, it's a boy, a ball, and a dream. And that's what they had.
When I became coach, I had some very successful teams, but I could never get carried away with myself. I'd say, hey, Prof had 159. And that would keep my players and myself in line whenever you thought you got a little too big for your britches.